Have you ever noticed that everyone wants to be loved, but almost no one has the courage to truly love? Most people want to feel the good part, the affection, the security, the care, but they shy away from the risk, the surrender, the pain that sometimes comes with it. But that's precisely where the secret lies. Love isn't for those who want guarantees. It's for those willing to dive in without knowing what they'll find. Because loving is opening your heart, exposing yourself, allowing the other person to see who you really are, without masks, without defenses, without scripts. And that's why so many people suffer. They try to control love as if it were a contract, when in reality, it's a dance between what you give and what you're willing to lose. But when you understand this, when you stop fighting fear and start living love courageously, everything changes. You begin to realize that the risk isn't giving in. The real risk is never having felt anything real. In this video, you'll understand what makes true love so rare, why it requires courage, and what Alan Watts' teachings reveal about the underlying motivation behind this surrender that so frightens people. You'll see why many spend their entire lives protecting themselves, only to realize in the end that what they were protecting was emptiness. So stay until the end, because if you've ever loved and been hurt, this video will show you that maybe love never hurt you. What hurt was the fear of allowing yourself to experience what love really is. Now that you understand what it truly means to love and be loved, you're no longer the same person, because understanding this changes the way you relate to everything, to others and to yourself. This video opened a new perspective on love. It's not a game of guarantees, but a daily choice of courage, and those who have come this far have already taken the first step toward experiencing the kind of love that transforms, not imprisons. So strengthen this transformation. Like the video and subscribe to the channel now. This way you'll keep this energy alive and continue receiving content that will help you see life with greater clarity, freedom, and awareness. The truth is simple. When you share what transforms you, the universe will give back in kind. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to talk about love, but how difficult it is to truly experience it? Everyone wants to feel that warmth in their chest, that comforting look, the feeling of being important to someone. But when it comes to surrendering, most freeze up. It seems like the heart starts to negotiate with the head, fear takes over, and the mind creates 1,000 excuses to escape. It's always the same old line. Oh, I don't want to suffer. I'll go slower this time. I'd better wait and see what happens. And so, without realizing it, the person puts bars around their own heart, trying to avoid the pain, but also preventing something real from entering. It's a kind of self-protection that only brings loneliness disguised as prudence. And the curious thing is that no one is born afraid to love. When you were a child, you loved without filter, without calculation, without expecting anything in return. You ran to hug, believed in what you felt, trusted. Then came the disappointments, the rejections, the betrayals, and love became synonymous with risk. But here's the point that almost no one understands. Risk has always existed. Love is risky by nature because it involves something beyond your control. And human beings hate not having control. They want to predict what the other will do. They want the guarantee that it will be reciprocated. They want the promise that it won't hurt. But love isn't that. Love is throwing yourself into the water without knowing if there's a net underneath. It's choosing to feel, even knowing it might hurt. The problem is that most people want to experience love without paying the price of surrender. They want emotional security, like someone buying car insurance. But in love, there's no coverage against the unexpected. And when you try to live like this, always on the defensive, love may knock on the door, but you never truly open it. You pretend you're ready, but deep down you're waiting for proof that you won't be disappointed. And when that proof doesn't come, you walk away, saying it wasn't meant to be. But what wasn't meant to be is often just what you didn't have the courage to allow. You know what's sad? Many people spend their entire lives confusing love with security. They want someone who doesn't scare them, when true love actually disrupts your comfort zone. It shakes up everything you thought you knew about yourself. Love is looking in the mirror and seeing your weaknesses, your jealousies, your insecurities, and still choosing to stay. Because it's in this vulnerability that love truly begins to exist. It's when you stop trying to appear strong and simply allow yourself to be human. And here comes the point that few have the courage to admit. The fear of loving is deep down, the fear of showing yourself. It's the fear of being rejected for who you truly are. It's the fear that by opening your heart, the other person won't value what you're offering. But think about it. Living without this is living half-heartedly. You trade the momentary pain of possible rejection for a constant pain, that of never having allowed yourself to feel something real. It's like standing by a river, watching the water flow but never diving in. You think you're protecting yourself, but you're only dying of thirst for the very thing that could heal you. When you understand that loving is taking an inevitable risk, something changes inside you. Life begins to feel truer, more intense, because there is no love without vulnerability, and there is no vulnerability without courage. It's a choice. Either you live trying to control what you feel, or you accept feeling what you are, even if it hurts. And honestly, between the fear of suffering and the regret of not having tried, the latter is infinitely worse. How many times have you let someone amazing slip away just because you were afraid of getting hurt again? How many times have you made excuses not to get closer, when deep down what you felt was fear of repeating the pain of the past? Write your words in the comments below. Courage, because that's what separates those who live intensely from those who merely survive. Emotionally. Talking about love is easy, but living love is for those who have the courage to get hurt and still believe it's worth it. And perhaps what scares people most is this: love doesn't guarantee a happy ending. It transforms you, matures you, shows you the best and worst of yourself. It's a constant risk, but also the only risk that truly makes life worth taking. But to get to that point, to love without fear, without trying to control, you first need to understand who inside you is. So desperate for protection. And that's when a lot of things start to make sense. Have you ever noticed how most of the time, love ends not because there was a lack of feeling, but because someone tried to control too much? It's always the same pattern. At first, everything is light, natural, full of laughter and sincere glances. But as soon as ego enters the scene, the game changes completely. Love, which was supposed to be freedom, begins to turn into competition. And the worst part is that often this happens without the person realizing it. They say they love, but what they really want is to ensure that the other person remains the way that makes them feel safe. It's the ego trying to transform love into property. But love doesn't survive inside a cage, and those who try to imprison the other end up suffocating their own relationship. The ego wants certainty. It wants to control everything, what the other person feels, thinks, and does. It wants guarantees that it won't be betrayed, deceived, or forgotten. But love doesn't work with security clauses. To love is to let go of control, and that's precisely why so many people suffer. The ego hates not having power. It can't handle the unpredictable, so it tries to mold love according to what it thinks is right. It starts demanding, monitoring, comparing, demanding. But love, when it becomes an obligation, loses its charm. You can have the person's presence, but not their heart. And that's where most people lose their way. Instead of experiencing love, they start managing it. They start calculating what they should or shouldn't say, what they should or shouldn't show. They create rules for themselves and for the other person, as if love were a spreadsheet they need to close at the end of the month. But love isn't rational. It's unpredictable, alive, constantly changing. The control the ego seeks is an illusion, and the more you try to hold on, the more it slips through your fingers. Love is like water. If you try to hold on, it runs away. If you just let it flow, it refreshes you, bathes you, transforms you. You know what's most ironic? The ego creates the fear of losing, but it's precisely this fear that causes you to lose. When you live distrusting, trying to protect yourself, the other person feels it. The energy shifts, the atmosphere becomes heavy, and what was once light begins to feel tense. The ego says, control yourself so you don't get hurt. But in practice, it isolates you, hardens you, prevents you from feeling. Love is vulnerability, and the ego hates that. It wants to be right, it wants to win, it wants to be on top. But love has no winner. In love, either you grow together or you grow apart. Many people believe that controlling someone is a form of caring. But love isn't about surveillance, it's about trust. Caring isn't about imprisoning, it's about offering freedom. Those who truly love understand that the other person doesn't belong, but shares. And this is one of life's greatest lessons. Love isn't about possession, it's about presence. You don't need to be in control to be important. You just need to be whole, true, and open. The ego, deep down, is terrified of disappearing. It believes that without control, it will lose value. That's why it tries to make love revolve around itself. But when you learn to let go of control, something magical happens. Love begins to breathe. It returns to being what it was meant to be: light, spontaneous, sincere. It's at this point that the relationship stops being a silent war and becomes a space for growth. Have you ever experienced something like this? Have you ever felt like you were trying to control someone, or been controlled by fear disguised as love? Write your thoughts in the comments below. Freedom. So I know this part made sense to you, because when you understand this, that love and control never coexist, you take a giant step toward living a real love, not a theater of affection. And the most interesting thing is that when you start letting go of control, a new kind of strength emerges, a strength that comes from trust, not fear. You realize that love doesn't need to be controlled to last. It just needs to be nurtured with truth. But before reaching that point, you need to understand one essential thing. Love only grows where there's the courage to be vulnerable. And that's exactly what the next part is about. Most people spend their lives trying to appear strong, but what they don't realize is that this strength is often just armor in disguise, a defense against the fear of getting hurt, of being rejected, of appearing weak. But love doesn't connect with those who wear armor. It needs exposed skin, true presence. Being vulnerable isn't the same as being weak. It's quite the opposite. It's having the courage to show your wounds and still believe you're worthy of being loved. And few have that courage, because being vulnerable is opening the door for the other to see everything. Your insecurities, your fears, your flaws, your frailties. It's trusting that love will continue to exist even when the appearance of perfection fades. Many people believe that being strong means not showing your feelings, but this is just disguised fear. How many times have you caught yourself swallowing words, pretending to be okay, when really you just wanted a hug? Society teaches that crying is weakness, that showing pain is a sign of dependence. But it is precisely those who allow themselves to feel who live intensely. Vulnerability is the fertile ground where love flourishes, because love isn't born amid control, it is born in the encounter between two truths. When you try to hide your emotions, you prevent others from seeing who you really are. And how can anyone truly love you if you only show an edited version of yourself? Vulnerability is the bridge that connects souls. It creates intimacy, trust, and truth. Only those who show their true selves can be truly loved. This is why superficial relationships are so common today. Because everyone tries to appear interesting, but almost no one shows their true selves. The curious thing is that when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you discover a kind of power that the ego could never understand. Because it's no longer about appearing strong, it's about being authentic. You realize you don't need to prove anything to anyone, nor hide your pain. Vulnerability frees you from the fear of not being enough. It shows you that true love doesn't require perfection. It requires presence. And when someone loves you even after seeing what you've hidden your whole life, that's when love becomes healing. But most don't get to this point because they give up beforehand. Fear speaks louder. People believe that opening your heart means giving someone else the power to hurt you, when in fact it's the opposite. It's taking back the power to feel. Being vulnerable is saying, I can get hurt, but I still choose to live what's real. And that is the purest form of courage there is. Write the word in the comments strength if you understand what I'm saying, because true strength isn't hardening. It's continuing to love even after being hurt. It's looking at the pain and saying, this won't make me cold. Vulnerability is what keeps you human, and it's what makes love worthwhile. And you know the best part? When you understand this, fear begins to fade. You realize that love doesn't hurt. What hurts is resisting it. Love simply reveals what was already inside you. But to see this clearly, you need to take a further step, one that goes beyond emotion and touches the deepest part of your consciousness. Have you ever realized that love has the power to reveal who you really are? It's easy to blame others for relationship problems, but true love works like a mirror. It reflects exactly what's inside you. When someone irritates you, makes you feel insecure, jealous, or frustrated, it's not coming from them, it's coming from within. They're just pushing buttons that were already there. And that's why love is one of the greatest tests of self-knowledge there is. As long as you're just pointing the finger, thinking the other person is the problem, you miss the chance to see what love is trying to show you about yourself. It's in love that you discover your shadows, those parts you hide from everyone, including yourself. Jealousy reveals a fear of loss. Possessiveness reveals a lack of trust. Pride reveals a difficulty in surrendering. Love is looking in the mirror and realizing that often what bothers you most about the other person is what you haven't yet resolved within yourself. And that's when love stops being just an emotion and becomes a powerful tool for evolution. Because every relationship, every encounter, every frustration is a chance to understand yourself better and become a more conscious version of yourself. But the ego hates this kind of mirror. It prefers to blame the other, to say that the partner is the problem, that the relationship didn't work out because of it. The ego doesn't want to look within because it knows it will find uncomfortable truths. But it is precisely in this confrontation that love begins to transform you. The other person didn't come to complete you. They came to reveal you. Love is the greatest teacher there is, and the price of lessons is honesty with oneself. When you start seeing love this way, everything changes. You stop entering relationships hoping to be saved and begin to understand that love serves to awaken you. The person who challenges you isn't your enemy. They're someone who's come to show you where you still have wounds. And if you use this to your advantage, every romantic experience becomes an opportunity for growth. Love is the field where the unconscious becomes visible, and that's why it hurts, because it forces you to see what you've always tried to hide. How many times have you realized you were reacting to a loving situation, but were actually fighting something inside yourself? An old fear, an unresolved memory, a long-standing need? Love doesn't cause these pains. It only reveals them, and that's where its power lies. Love is an inward journey, even when it seems to be outward. Write your words in the comments below, mirror, so I know you understand how much love reveals what is inside you. Love is, at its core, a conversation between your conscience and your soul. It shows you what you need to heal, to truly love, without fear, without games, and without masks. But to get to that point, to truly free yourself from these wounds and understand what it means to love without attachment, you need to take the next step, learning to let love be free, not a form of control. And that's precisely where the most profound transformation begins. Most people talk about love, but what they experience in practice is attachment. And attachment isn't love, it's fear. Fear of loss, fear of being alone, fear that the other person will leave and take with them the sense of value you placed in them. But true love isn't about holding on, it's about letting go. To truly love is to understand that no one belongs to you. It's to share your life with someone without trying to possess them. And this is much harder than it seems because the ego wants to hold on, wants control, wants guarantees. It wants to transform love into a contract, a territory, a security. But love, when it's true, doesn't accept shackles. It needs air, space, freedom. Think about it. When you love someone and try to control their every move, what you're feeding isn't love, it's insecurity. You start to watch, to distrust, to test, and without realizing it, you're suffocating the most beautiful thing between you, the lightness. Love isn't a prison where you lock the other person up and throw away the key. It's an open space where both of you choose to be every day, not out of obligation, but out of desire. And that's precisely what makes love so valuable. It only exists as long as it's a choice. When you learn to love detachedly, something changes within you. You stop wanting the other to fulfill you and begin to realize that love is exchange, not dependence. Detachment isn't coldness, it's maturity. It's knowing that love is only true when there's freedom, that letting the other be who they are doesn't diminish the bond. On the contrary, it strengthens it. Love doesn't grow in those who want to dominate, but in those who know how to trust. But the ego hates detachment. It wants guarantees. You want to be able to say, this person is mine. You want the comfort of knowing nothing will change. But love is movement. It changes, matures, transforms. Trying to freeze it is the same as killing what makes it alive. Attachment is fear disguised as care. And that's why so many relationships fall apart, because love becomes control, and control becomes prison. Healthy love is the kind that continues even when there's space, even when the other person could leave, but chooses to stay. It's curious how attachment deceives. It makes you believe that the more you hold on, the more the other person will love you, but it's the opposite. The more you let go, the more genuine the love becomes, because what's true doesn't need chains. And this is one of life's greatest lessons. Love isn't about keeping the other person by your side at any cost. It's about being at peace, even when they choose another path. This is emotional freedom. This is true love. And perhaps you've experienced this, that moment when you had to let go of someone you loved, not because you wanted to, but because you understood that holding on would be selfish. And paradoxically, that's when love became purer, because letting go isn't the end of love, it's proof that it's real. To love is to want the best for the other, even if that best doesn't include you. And when you reach this level of maturity, you discover that love was never about having, but about being. Write the word here in the comments, freedom, so I know you understand this part. Because that's what true love teaches, that love isn't a prison, it's a choice. And only when you understand this does the fear of loss begin to disappear. Love doesn't need possession to be strong. It only needs presence, trust, and surrender. And it's at this point that the transformation begins to deepen. Because when you learn to love freely, something within you awakens. You begin to realize that love is more than a feeling. It's a spiritual force, an energy that connects you to something much greater. And it's about this connection that the next step of this journey comes. There comes a point when you understand love isn't just any emotion, it's a spiritual act. It's a conscious choice to face the most unpredictable within yourself and in others. Love is a leap of faith, and that's why only the brave truly love, because love is beautiful, but it's also uncomfortable. It dismantles everything you thought you had control over. It demands surrender, patience, forgiveness, and a rare willingness to keep going even when your ego screams at you to give up. It's easy to love when everything is going well. What's difficult is to remain open-hearted when pain, doubt, silence, and distance arise. That's when love reveals who you truly are. And this is where Alan Watts' teachings make the most sense. Love is the opposite of fear. Where there is fear, there is no room for complete love. To love is to accept risk, to surrender to the unknown. It's to be aware that nothing is permanent, and yet choose to be present. Because love, at its core, is spirituality in action. It's life inviting you to transcend your ego. When you love someone, you're participating in something much greater than a relationship. You're being an instrument of consciousness, expanding through two souls. Love is a challenge, yes. It's putting pride, fear aside and understanding that you won't always be right. It's recognizing that the other person didn't come to complete you, but to reveal you. That love is choosing to care, even when it's not easy, and that this choice, made with sincerity, brings you closer to something sacred. Because love isn't just about feeling, it's about practicing. It's about keeping your heart open when the easiest thing would be to close it. It's having the courage to continue believing in goodness, even after seeing the worst in people. Spiritual love doesn't seek control, doesn't demand guarantees, and doesn't need to win. It simply is. It understands that every encounter has a purpose, and that even losses carry lessons. And surprisingly, the more you accept this truth, the lighter love becomes. It stops being a power struggle and becomes a journey of growth. You begin to realize that each time you love, you are getting closer to your essence, to that part of you that is free, whole, and conscious. Loving then becomes a daily act of faith, faith in the other, faith in yourself, faith in life. It's understanding that love doesn't promise security, it offers meaning, and those who live with purpose live with courage. Loving is choosing to grow together, even when the path is uncertain. It's looking at the person beside you and silently saying, I know we might get hurt, but I still choose to be here. This is the kind of courage that transforms any relationship into something sacred. Now that you've made it this far, you've already felt the impact this content had on you, because somehow something shifted inside you. Perhaps a penny dropped, perhaps a weight lifted, or perhaps you simply understood what you've always sought, that love is an act of courage that transforms everything around it. And when something like this awakens within you, it's impossible to remain the same. It's the kind of truth that makes you see love, life, and even yourself differently. This video made you reflect, made you recognize yourself, and most importantly, made you realize that love is much deeper than what you've been told. So now it's your turn to spread it. Like the video and subscribe to the channel, because what transforms you can also transform others. Your every gesture keeps this current of consciousness alive, this exchange of energy that makes love multiply. And so, I know that this message really touched you. Write the word here in the comments, transformation. Because what starts as a video can become a turning point. And the next piece of content appearing on your screen now will take you even deeper into this journey. Get ready, because what comes next will completely change the way you understand love and your own inner strength.